Whenever I listen back to something that I do, it just makes me feel weird.
Hi, my lovely.
Hi.
Welcome to America's Got Talent.
Crying is like seeing a cat bark. It just doesn't happen right. But this time, even the man with the world's toughest poker face couldn't hide his emotions. According to fans and behind-the-scenes whispers, was seen wiping his eyes after hearing something about his former Golden Buzzer star, Courtney. The same Courtney who once turned the America's Got Talent stage into her personal rock concert. People online went wild, saying things like, "Did just tear up." While others joked, "Relax, it's just studio dust with dramatic timing." Still, those who know say he's not made of stone, and when it comes to raw, once-in-a-generation talent like Courtney, even the most composed judge can melt a little. His silence afterward only added fuel to the mystery, leaving everyone wondering, what could possibly make the man who practically invented harsh criticism lose his composure? And that question, my friends, is where our story begins, a journey of talent, emotion, and one unforgettable bond that went far beyond the AGT stage. The audition that shocked the world. It all began on that unforgettable night when a nervous 14-year-old girl walked onto the America's Got Talent stage, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Courtney, shy and soft-spoken, barely made eye contact as she introduced herself and raised an eyebrow, probably thinking, "Here we go again." But the moment the music started, the entire room transformed. Courtney exploded with the voice of a rock legend, channeling Joplin's spirit with a scream so powerful it nearly blew his hair gel off. The crowd went nuts, jaws dropped, and even the ever-stoic stood up, clapping like a proud coach at the Super Bowl. One fan joked, "Standing up, someone check if the Earth's still spinning." That performance didn't just earn her the Golden Buzzer, it ignited a global obsession. Overnight, Courtney went from a quiet schoolgirl to a viral sensation, her audition replayed millions of times. And right there, in that moment of pure shock and admiration, his famously cold demeanor cracked for the first time, though of course, he'd never admit it on camera. The shy girl who shook the stage. Before that mind-blowing audition, Courtney wasn't some pop prodigy groomed for fame. She was just a quiet teenager from a small town in England, known more for hiding behind her hair than holding a microphone. Teachers said she was the kind of kid who'd rather hum in the corner than shout her name during roll call. But once the spotlight hit, something inside her switched on like a lightning bolt through a karaoke machine. That stage wasn't just a platform, it was her liberation. She danced, screamed, and sang with a freedom that felt almost otherworldly, leaving the audience torn between goosebumps and disbelief. Even looked stunned, and that's saying something for a guy who's seen everything from dancing dogs to psychic magicians. Fans joked online, "If being shy can make you that amazing, we're all about to delete our social media accounts and live quietly forever." But what made Courtney special wasn't just her voice, it was that shocking contrast between the timid girl who walked in and the fearless rock star who walked out. It was a reminder that sometimes the loudest power comes from the quietest soul. Turns into her biggest fan. After that electric performance, something rare happened. The man famous for his raised eyebrows and brutal one-liners actually turned into a fan. He wasn't just impressed, he was mesmerized. In interviews and backstage moments, couldn't stop praising Courtney, calling her a breath of fresh air and the future of rock. For a guy whose usual compliments sound like "you're not terrible," this was basically poetry. He even compared her to legends, saying she had that unpredictable energy that reminded him of the greats. Viewers couldn't believe their eyes, smiling, nodding, and clapping like a proud mentor. That's rarer than seeing him hand out hugs. One viewer joked, "Smiled longer than 3 seconds, call the world records." But it wasn't just TV magic, it felt genuine. There was something about Courtney that broke through his wall of sarcasm and struck a chord. For once, wasn't the critic, he was the believer. And behind those sharp suits and cold expressions, maybe he saw a little of himself in her, a rebel who refused to fit the mold. Rumors and post-show mysteries. After the confetti settled and the stage lights dimmed, Courtney's story took a twist that no one expected. The girl who had just blown up the AGT stage suddenly seemed to disappear from the spotlight. Fans began asking where Courtney, and the internet as usual filled the silence with its own theories. Some said her record deal fell through, others whispered that the pressure of fame at such a young age took its toll. A few even claimed tried to manage her behind the scenes, but hit industry roadblocks. Of course, most of these stories had about as much proof as a UFO sighting, but that didn't stop the rumor train from going full speed. Threads popped up faster than eye rolls, and YouTube comments turned into mini detective agencies. One user joked, "We've cracked less complicated mysteries on Netflix." Through it all, Courtney stayed mostly quiet, releasing songs here and there, but never chasing the hype. That silence only deepened the mystery, and for the man who saw her spark first, it must have felt like watching a fire he helped light start to flicker. Did try to intervene. Behind the glossy TV smiles and the applause, insiders whispered that Mike tried to step in when Courtney's post-show path started getting rocky. After all, he'd been her biggest supporter, the guy who pushed her forward when the world finally noticed her. Some say made calls, tried to connect her with producers, and even offered quiet guidance off camera. But in the music industry, good intentions don't always equal good results. The business is a jungle, and even can't swing from every vine without getting tangled. Rumors claim he grew frustrated seeing talent like Courtney fade under the weight of contracts, expectations, and industry politics. But as one witty fan said, even doesn't have a golden buzzer for life. And they weren't wrong, this wasn't a talent show anymore. This was the real world, where applause fades fast and deals move slower than a Wi-Fi connection on Monday mornings. Still, those close to the scene insist that never stopped rooting for her, even when the cameras weren't rolling, proof that, deep down, the toughest judge in actually has a soft spot for the artists who remind him why he started it all. The emotional turning point. As time went on, fans began noticing that Courtney had gone quiet, too quiet. No major tour, no flashy appearances, just the occasional post that hinted she was still making music, somewhere out of the spotlight. That silence made people wonder if the pressure had finally caught up with her. Remember, she was just a teenager thrown into a storm of fame faster than can say you're through to the next round. Some speculated she was burned out, others thought she was carefully planning her comeback. Either way, reportedly felt that sting too. He'd seen dozens of stars rise and fall, but Courtney was different, raw, real, unpredictable. One cheeky fan joked, maybe she's just recharging her rock and roll batteries in airplane mode. And honestly, maybe that wasn't far from the truth. Because while the industry kept spinning, Courtney's story started to take on a deeper meaning. The cost of genius, the weight of expectation, and how even the boldest performers sometimes need silence to find their sound again. And for watching from the sidelines, that silence must felt louder than any standing ovation. The tearful moment, real or just studio dust? Then came the headline that stopped fans mid-scroll. In tears after hearing about Courtney, some swore they saw him emotional during a quiet interview moment, eyes glistening when someone mentioned her name. Others said he was simply tired or maybe allergic to nostalgia. But whatever it was, the internet didn't care. It turned into a viral frenzy. Memes popped up overnight, fans captioning photos with, "Even's tear ducts couldn't handle the talent." A few skeptics joked, "It's not tears, just expensive bottled water leaking from his eyes." But behind the jokes, there was something undeniably human about it. For a man who's built his career on tough love and blunt honesty, showing that kind of vulnerability was rare. Maybe hearing about Courtney's struggles or her quiet retreat from fame hit him harder than anyone realized. Perhaps he saw in her the same fire that once drove him to take risks, to believe in artists who the mole. So whether it was emotion or just a well-timed puff of studio dust, one thing was clear: his connection to Courtney wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal. Why was so affected? So why did a man known for his iron heart and brutal honesty seem so emotionally hit by Courtney's story? Maybe it's because for once he wasn't just judging talent, he was witnessing potential that reminded him why he started doing this in the first place. Courtney wasn't a product, she was raw, fearless, and unapologetically real. She didn't chase fame, she created moments that demanded it. That kind of authenticity is rare, even in an industry full of noise and glitter. And who's seen thousands of hopefuls try and fail, probably recognized the same spark in Courtney that he once saw in stars like Lewis or One Direction, that unpredictable, untamed energy that money can't buy. Fans joked, maybe his black t-shirt hides a soft spot the size of stadium. And honestly, it might. For all his tough talk and sharp critiques, greatest weakness has always been artists who remind him that music isn't about perfection, it's about feeling something real. Courtney did that effortlessly, and that's exactly why she lingered in his thoughts long after the spotlight faded. A bittersweet ending that still inspires. In the end, Courtney's story isn't one of failure, it's one of evolution. She may have stepped away from the massive TV lights, but she never stopped creating. Her YouTube uploads, original songs, and live performances prove that the fire still burns even if it's quieter now. And as for Well, he remains one of her biggest silent supporters. Whenever fans mention her name in interviews, his expression softens, that split second of pride mixed with nostalgia says everything words can't. Some viewers even joke, if we can cry over talent, maybe we can cry over our Wi-Fi bills too, same emotional struggle. But in truth, Courtney's journey shows how unpredictable fame can be and how true talent never really fades. It just finds new ways to shine. The bond between the mentor and prodigy, critic and believer, remains one of those rare, genuine connections that remind us. Sometimes the most touching moments happen when the cameras stop rolling. And if that's what made Shed a tear, honestly, can we really blame him?